Hello, podcast listener. Glad you're here. Listen, this is a secret between just you and I. Today's episode is about April Knutson, and I think you're really going to like it. That's right. I'm talking directly to you through your earbuds or car stereo, whatever medium you're using to listen to this. Also, Tucker and I talk about The Price is Right and how we maybe are using our time incorrectly when it comes to not competing on The Price is Right. All of this and more on JJ Meets World. By the way, patreon.com/JJ Meets World helps us keep the lights on.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
I think that the most sporty thing about me is my love of Gatorade Fruit Punch. So it's probably the closest I get to being an athlete, is enjoying Gatorade.
Are you using sporty as a euphemism for athletic?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's something different between someone who's athletic and someone who's sporty.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, because just because you drink a drink that is marketed towards athletes.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Right. Yeah. But it also is marketed towards people who, need electrolytes.
Right.
Because they've,
sure,
they're sick.
You need electrolytes?
I do. I'm sick right now while we're recording this.
I can hear it.
I am sick.
Yeah.
I rarely get sick. I'm one of those people who I get sick maybe 3 or 4 times a year tops. But when I get sick, I get sick.
Right.
And my body just lets me down. And I used to think that was kind of cool because it'd be like, oh, I'm getting sick. Here's 3 days where I'm not going to do anything.
Right.
But now it sucks.
It wasn't like when you were in school and you're like, yeah, I just get to stay home and watch movies and play video games.
Price is Right.
Yay.
I wish that there was a class on Price is Right. Where you could learn about Price is Right and the history, the skills.
Is it merely a historical study, or is there strategy involved as well?
Strategy is the end of it. So it's kind of like both a history and a math class.
It seems like anyone who had a strong strategic advantage on that show were people who religiously watched the show. So they were used to seeing certain items coming up and being able to guess price ranges.
Did you see that documentary that was at the Fargo Film Festival called like The Greatest Competitor or something like that?
No.
It was this guy who watched the show every day and noticed the patterns and noticed the same products and wrote down their values and would memorize them. And so he went on the show, or he was at the show a couple times and he didn't get picked, but he was talking to people in the audience, and it was called The Perfect Bid.
Okay.
And he would tell people like it's $5,281. And so they'd bid $5,281 and they'd be boom, spot on. And the producers of the show do not like this guy because they think this guy's cheating somehow.
Okay.
But he's not cheating. He's just memorizing all of the prices. Stop using the same washer and dryer in 7 episodes.
Right. Because they probably had to deal with that washer dryer company that gave them 20 of those things, and they just got sitting. They're sitting somewhere, and they're like, "We got to offload these things, so we're going to give them away as prizes."
Right. And I mean, they're buying a sponsorship, so you've got to go through the sponsorship.
I actually
portion.
have a logistical question about this, right? So you're guessing the values of things, you're guessing the prices of things, but how is that actual price set? Because any item that's on the market is priced differently at different times.
It's based on the SRP, the suggested retail price.
Oh.
So they suggest prices. Same thing, like, it's funny because if you look at the SRP on some things, it's never that amount of money. So if you look at a DVD and the SRP is $29.99, it's never $29.99.
So he had to memorize what the Price is Right had valued these things at. He couldn't look these things up in a catalog somewhere and just look at that.
Yeah, and he kept these spreadsheets, and then he built a computer modulation of the Price is Right that had all of the correct prices in it. And so he would go through and it would be like, Tide dish soap and, how much is this lever 2000? And
Maybe all this time we're putting into this podcast is time not well spent. We should be watching Price is Right.
we should be. Well, and they've changed things now too, where they don't want some Rain Man genius showing up and winning all the prizes, even though it makes for great television when someone gets a perfect bid.
Always a flaw in the system, though. There's
Right.
always something. You just got to find it. We could become basically like Price is Right hackers.
Folks, if you've never seen the movie Quiz Show with Ray Fiennes, I highly recommend you watch it. It's about what happened behind the scenes in some of those popular television game shows of the 1950s. It is enthralling. You'll like it because it was corrupt as it just get out. It was great. Hey, speaking of great things, why not head over to patreon.com and give us some great money? And here's the thing, I'll yodel for you, and we can do a yodeler like from Price is Right. So if you give me $1, it'll be like
It's fun to listen to you yodel when you're sick.
I know. Well, it would sound the same if I was regular because I don't know how to yodel. But I do have one of those giant horns that like. I just put my hands to my mouth like they do in Jurassic Park to make the brontosaurus call. Go to patreon.com/JJMeetsWorld. Our guest today is April Knutson. End of intro.
JJ Meets World.
April Knutson, you've got a theory about why journalists and media folks are not great about being interviewed themselves.
Yeah.
Let's start this podcast off with that because you are in the hot seat now.
Yes. Okay. Well, I don't know how factual this theory
It's
is.
a theory. It doesn't matter. It's a theory.
Well, you'll find ex-journalists, current journalists always try to I don't know, add explanations to or to their theories because they're like, no, don't quote me on this. But okay, this is my theory. So journalists or writers or any people who are in communications always spend so much time crafting the right message and making sure that it's coming clearly and that there's not any confirmation biases, whether that is through video or writing or whatever, that when we try to just speak freely, we're editing in our mind. And so we're it comes out all jumbled and hard to understand because we're wait, are we saying the things that we want to say the most correct, concise, and accurate way?
Oh, and so it gives you a little bit of anxiety, question anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
So are you finding that right now? You're feeling that? You're
Yes.
even my explanation, I should have said this instead of this.
Yeah.
Where's my editor?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Nervous laughter all the time.
Oh, good. That's good. I met April a few years ago when you did a piece on the line benders, which is brilliantly written, and it is posted. I've got it framed in my office, which is great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah. I frame all of my publications.
I mean, to be fair, we framed that picture up there, which is a tiny blurb
Yep,
in the
that
top
just
right
is a little
corner.
blurb about
Oh,
when Andrew
nice.
Jason was like, yeah, give this a listen.
That's the first time we were in print.
Yep.
We were
Cool.
like,
Did you get Chelsea's article?
It's right behind you.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, that was an amazing one, too.
Now, I will say that one I did not have professionally framed and matted. I've done the other ones, so I should probably get around to doing that. But, the studio costs a lot of money, and the baffling on the wall and the handprint signatures don't come cheap. So, April, where'd you come from? What's your story?
Okay, from birth or?
Yeah, sure, why not? What kind of a day was it?
let's
year by
say-
year, month by
By
month.
month. We don't have time for that. Let's start. Well, I grew up on a farm in South Dakota.
What part of South Dakota?
By Brookings, South Dakota. So people around here, I usually start with that. If they don't know where that is, I say Sioux Falls, which is an hour. So Volga is the town name.
Savalga?
Volga.
Volga.
It's a river in Russia too. And it was named that because we were trying to, at the time in the 1860s, we were trying to get some Russians to move to the town. It was
Really?
actually called Bandy Town before this, where it was just a saloon, a hooker house because it was a railroad town.
So the town got together and they're like, you guys know what would really make this town take off?
Yeah.
Some
Some
Russians.
Russians. Yeah.
But in all honesty, that those German Russian heritage folks, like
Right.
that's how Bismarck got its start. So
Yeah.
you guys are jumping on the right bandwagon.
Yeah, well, that didn't happen. A bunch of Scandinavians and Germans moved to town, and so
Bastards.
Yeah, and
I'm Irish, so you guys can just chill.
I'm actually Irish too. I'm my
Nice.
mother's side.
Nice.
So yeah, that's when the Knutson clan moved there and staked its homestead claim, and that's where they've been ever since. My dad was actually the first one to marry a non-Norwegian. So
Scandalous.
I know. So he married an Irish woman from Chicago.
Oh.
Yeah, and then here I am. And then I moved to Fargo about 8 years ago to go to school at MSUM. Go Dragons, I guess. I don't know.
We've had a lot of MSU grads.
Yeah, and then I kind of just like I started volunteering and fell into my role at Women's Impact, a local nonprofit, doing marketing there. And then I was also freelancing, doing writing, journalism stuff. And then I taught myself web development, and then I started in advertising for like a year, and then I was like, oh, I hate advertising. I want to sell ads. Moved to the newsroom for like 2 years, and now I'm in a new role where I just changed my title like 2 weeks ago because like no one really understands and knows what I do.
And you've got the power to do that.
And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever, April, you do you. And I'm like, sweet. So now I'm a product manager at The Scribe, which is it's basically the new and improved version of Area Voices, which was Forum Communications' old blogging platform. But I went through a rebrand and a redevelopment over the last year, and now we've just really opened it to the public this week.
So tell me a little bit about the Scribe, excuse me, not B.
SKRIVE.
Actually, that's a different website too. If you go, Scribe, I was like, dang it. Yeah.
By the way, I'm a member of their Facebook group. I had to apply and I was accepted.
Ooh.
Yeah, I feel very important.
Yeah, it's a closed Facebook group for.
It's the exclusivity factor that makes people want to
It
join.
really, to be honest, it really
Are
is. I was a little
you
nervous.
on the Scribe Facebook group yet? No. Well, talk to me when you are.
Yeah, it sounds exciting, but it's really not exciting yet. I will make it exciting though. The Scribe, it means to write in Norwegian. The name was picked before I joined. I've only been in this role since June, so it's been kind of a crazy whirlwind. And The Scribe is, like I said, a new blogging platform, much more like medium.com, if you guys are familiar, where anyone can sign up and start writing and creating. And then it's meant to, what I'm trying to make it, and it's meant to give people easy access tools for exposure, promotion, accountability to each other. So we actually do the things that we say we're going to do, and there's interactive elements to remind you to get on the Scribe and create or host your podcast or do whatever. And then because it integrates with Patreon, which I saw you guys started a page.
Yeah.
It's a way to increase revenue streams.
Patreon.com/JJ Meets World.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about it to see how it's going to grow and how it can really be an asset and tool for people in the community and people like I was or I am still, which is just like we all have our day jobs, and then we have our passion projects, and it's like, how can we get more exposure and accountability to do our passion projects and feel fulfilled by them and support our work, but support other creatives' work too.
I love the idea of accountability for it as well, and the users holding other users accountable for it.
Yeah.
Because how many times have you heard, I have this great idea for blank, and it's thought out, but you know that individual is never going to act on it, and they're going to come up with a million excuses.
Oh my gosh, I'm so guilty of that. I have too many ideas.
Well, I know you attended Creative Mornings where I gave my honesty talk.
Yeah.
And one of my slides is I create most of the roadblocks to my creative work. And it's really true. I think people out there could be doing 100% more than what they're doing right now, but they find reasons and excuses to stop what they're doing or to not even start what they're doing.
Yeah, that's why I love the new trend or way that entrepreneurs and just creative people are coming together, because I feel like ideas from the entrepreneurship world can really help people who are just have a passion for doing podcasting or making a film or even starting a community organization, because it's when you have this idea and you want to like make it happen in the world, it's like so emotional and you don't want to like put it out there because then people can hate on it. But it's like we have to go more in the entrepreneurial world where it's all about like, oh, just do it and fail fast, and being okay with that. But it's hard.
It seems like entrepreneur needs a redefinition or maybe a broadening of scope.
No, definitely.
So that it's not necessarily, it's right now it's ubiquitous with someone who's starting a business or someone who's engaging in capitalism and really pushing their own way. But if anything, it really should just be someone who is motivated enough to try to carve their future and to do something, to take on a task.
Yeah.
And so that entrepreneurial spirit comes and goes for creatives, but the more that they can harness it, the more art they can create and the more satisfied in their lives will be. I'm as guilty as everyone else at this table of starting millions of things. When I did that 2010 movie A Month, I had JJ record a challenge to me a public challenge to me on YouTube every month and said that if I didn't make a movie that month, I was going to have to do some sort of like punishment or something. And luckily, the 1 month he didn't record a challenge, I didn't finish the movie, which was at the end of the year.
And Tucker would even have to hold me accountable, be like, "Hey, could you get a challenge up today? Could you do this?"
Hold him accountable.
And I'd be like,
hold me accountable.
I gotta stop playing Gears of War for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so great, and that's what I want to happen with the Scribe. Also, on that note, which another it was a news story on 60 Minutes, which I know it's like not really my go-to like for media consumption, but
don't be ashamed that you watch 60 Minutes. Good for you.
No, it was actually their Sunday morning program, which is like
42 minutes.
That is top. I love it. And too, it's the only on the farm we don't have cable, so if I go home on the farm, choice is unlimited. So yeah, there's this one on that program. They did one segment about a creative person's brain, or the part of the brain that creativity comes out of is very close to the emotional regulation part. And so that sometimes when people are more creative, they have more emotional stability problems because the overactive creative part of the brain, it's like pushing on the emotional stability part of the brain. And I found that super interesting. And then, and two, this was about reporting on one medical study, which you should always take with a grain of salt. I don't know if you guys familiar with the 24-hour news cycle and everything like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So always take everything with a grain of salt. But so I just love that because I was like, oh, as creative people, we have ideas and we have the emotional attachment to it because they're so close together. And so it's like, how can we be more open about that conversation? And how can we create accountability? And how can we erase the stigma about being so emotional about our ideas?
There's a really great John Cleese speech specifically about creativity. Mm-hmm. He actually goes and gives a speech about it. And he basically talks about how your brain has two functions, an executive function and a creative function. And it can't really do both at the same time very easily. Mm-hmm. And that to truly be able to be creative, you got to give yourself some time to go from the executive mode to the creative mode. So he was talking about how if you have to write a play or write a news article or do whatever, when it's time to do that, you should just sit down and give yourself half an hour and just let yourself start switching your mind into it, because it's a completely different way of thinking. It's not like a tap that you can just always turn on for most people. Mm-hmm. I thought it was very interesting.
I thought that's super interesting too. And I like the idea of thinking about creativity in the way that the Greeks used to think of creativity, where it's they're the muses, so that's what creativity is. So sometimes you just have to keep showing up and doing the work, and then eventually the creativity or the muses will come and visit you, and then you'll have the thing, you'll have the masterpiece or whatever. So
ooh.
Yeah.
So some people the muse is called Johnny Walker.
Yep.
Especially if you're a writer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Writers are like, I gotta have a drinking problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, write drunk, edit sober. For sure. I mean, it worked out for Hemingway.
Yeah, I guess.
Hunter S. Thompson really tested the boundaries of it, but worked out for him glowingly.
I mean, Walt Disney, look at what he accomplished, and I think all he was obsessed with was trains.
Was he a teetotaler?
I don't know.
I bet
have
he
no idea.
wasn't. I bet he wasn't.
I know he smoked cigarettes.
Then he wasn't.
But he wouldn't in front of other people. He
Right.
refused to smoke in front of other people because he didn't want that bad habit to be pushed onto like them.
In that Mr. Rogers documentary, does it ever come out like he's got like a really bad coke habit or anything? Or,
No.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
I haven't
No.
seen it either. I've heard it's amazing though.
No, you guys are missing out. It's really good. It's really what our
I just
country
can't
needs
stop
right
eating
now.
those McDonald's hamburgers.
Burgers.
Like, what was his vice?
He didn't really have a vice.
Spend too much on sweaters? Like,
No, if anything, his vice was he was a workaholic.
okay.
So he was constantly working and constantly
Oh, cool.
he was writing a majority of the show. He was creating the puppets, like he was sewing them himself, and he's going to be a Presbyterian minister before he got into children's
Really?
television. Yeah,
Coached hockey too, right?
I don't remember that part where they talk about him coaching hockey, but wouldn't surprise me.
I am almost positive he coached hockey. Anyways,
yeah.
we don't need to talk about Mr. Rogers ad nauseum.
He's an amazing human being. We all need to be more like him.
We do need to
Yeah.
be. There are a lot of people that if we could just kind of piecemeal some of them together in our everyday lives,
Yeah.
we'd be better people for it.
Yeah. Maybe we should make bracelets. Like, what would WWMR do? I don't know. Like
Yeah.
What was those?
It was WWJD,
JD,
right?
yeah.
What would Jesus do?
Yeah.
And then it was like, what would Tyler Durden do?
Yeah.
So why journalism for you?
Okay. Well,
And why print too?
Yeah. Well, I always wanted to be like a writer. Well, this goes back to to the farm, I guess. I took like 8 years of speech therapy. Because when I was a baby, and that recently, okay, sorry, this is where the editing comes in.
Don't worry about
And,
it. Let it flow.
This
In
show
real
is
time.
all about going off the rails. And by the way, he was a celebrity captain for the Pittsburgh Penguins in 1991. That's what it was. He wasn't a coach. They made him a celebrity captain. Anyways,
That's really cool.
go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, I took speech therapy for 8 years of my life, and because when I was younger, I had really bad earaches, and I didn't learn how to. You learn speaking from hearing, so I didn't hear correctly, so I didn't speak correctly, and so once I started school, I had to take speech therapy along with school. So I did that until 8th grade, and like luckily it worked because people can mostly understand me now. But for a lot of years of my life, like I, couldn't communicate very well, like verbally with people. So that's when I read a lot, wrote a lot, and so that developed a love of just the written word, I would say. And then I don't know, I went to college, and I know I went to start MSUM in 2009, so right after the 2008 election, and I feel like that's when I really got interested in world events, current events, politics, environmentalism, and I just saw the way that the media can influence those or have a part in those conversations. So, because I never wanted to be a politician, I never wanted to work in, and I didn't think I wanted to work in the nonprofit world, but I did. And so that's why I chose and still do love journalism. And I think that any way that we can support it is important. And I don't think journalism will be print. I don't think print media will be forever, unfortunately, but media will be forever and journalism will be forever and whatever, because it really does is the fifth estate. It serves a purpose in our society, and it's very important.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just talking to someone who told me that they like the feel and the look of newspaper ink on their fingers every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they know they've started their day off right, by, reading the paper. So I feel like, we've been hearing for a long time, like, print is dead. But also, once a year, I read Saturday Night Dead, and that thing's almost to its 50th season. So, let's not bury this horse before she's dead.
Yeah.
Right?
Great.
Yeah. Well, it definitely will be a slow, burn. It won't
Yeah.
be, if it ever goes away, it'll be because of efficiency and
Well, I think it'll
environmental reasons or something like
Yeah,
that.
it'll
but
just transition into a digital platform.
Yep.
It'll, that idea of a local news source will always be there.
Well, and I think print will even outlast that in some respects. Obviously, the written word is never going to go away, but print itself, I think, if anything, to make it survive would probably be a new technology that is able to replace tree product, paper, like tree pulp, to make that product, right? Because there is this effect by having to make all this stuff. But I think that's one of those questions that before like we as a people can ever decide what's the right way to go, technology will just solve the issue for us. But also, I mean, I read books all the time, but I also have an e-reader, and I love both of them. And I absolutely love both of them. Some books, like I'm reading The Fellowship of the Rings right now because I never actually read the books. And I thought, you know what? I want to read a physical book of that. Like I want to look at an older, and I tracked down like older copies of it. So it would have even kind of the smell and look, because it just felt like that's a story I want to read that way. But other books that I've been reading recently, like I just read a short biography on Thomas Jefferson. E-reader was perfect for that because there was nothing about the physical book that it was printed on that I thought was either beautiful or interesting to hold or keep. So reading is certainly never going away. But yeah, how often things are getting printed out will change.
That's what I found fascinating, though, too. It's about, because, like, obviously I read the newspaper. I read it print and online. But then I also read books, print, and on my e-reader. I also have started to listen to books because I found I wasn't reading the books, like, that I should, like those, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, like one of those, like everyone should read those books. And I was like, oh, I should read them, but I don't really want to. And I'm listening to too many podcasts, and so I had started to listen to books. So it's just fascinating all the different ways that you can consume media nowadays, and then how it like changes the subject matter and how it enhances it, or it changes your like how you like ingest it or how you digest it. And I just love to like to go on that journey and kind of see the differences and think about the own way that I'm putting my media out into the world, and like how do I want people to like feel about and digest the story I'm telling, and what does the story require?
Earlier you said people are nervous to put their creativity out there for fear of the haters out there. So what's it like to put something out there and have, we really have had very few haters of this podcast. They're certainly not vocal. And if they're still listening, I would say, are you really a hater of this podcast? Because you're still listening.
I think to be a hater of someone, they'd have to consume most of your media, right? So they have reasons to hate you.
They'd be a P1 listener.
And to hate us, that's a real time commitment.
It really is.
Like these episodes are at least an hour to hour 20 minutes long. Like and twice a week. So that's at least 2 hours a week of digesting our content just to like be like, I hate you guys, and here's the reasons why. And my notes are from episode 61, 22 minutes in. You said this.
In fact, we've found that we have more super fans than anything else, which, by the way, you super fans out there are amazing.
Thank you so much.
I love the fact that you're going through our episodes in chronological order. I love the fact that you're consuming them and making notes. It's just great. I love it. But what do you do? Have you had something out there where someone writes you a nasty email or comments on it poorly?
Well, just being employee into, I'm sure, JJ, you know this, of the news, of the media business, especially in the political and societal times that we are in, of quote unquote fake news. So of course you're going to get that even just like in conversations with people who may have different belief systems than me. So that's always fun. But online or like mean emails, as like we like to call them at the forum, it's like at least they're reading. So, and a good editor can make you a good critic can make you a better writer, or journalist, or media creator. So, I mean, at least they're consuming the stuff I put out. That's how I feel about it. And that's fine with me. They're allowed their opinions and their belief systems. But if the people, if my boss or the editor or people who have read my stuff before think it's a factual and interesting piece, then that's all that I really care about.
Well, I remember the days that Forum had a comment section,
Yeah.
Those days were dark days.
They were.
Those
Well,
were
if you
dark
look
days.
on Informed's Facebook, you still
see it. I just don't seek it out anymore because I used to have some whatever weird masochistic streak. Like, I should just be angry all the time.
Yeah.
That anonymous people on the internet are saying. But my previous job, one of my tasks was to manage our YouTube account. It was for a poker TV show. So imagine like how negative the comments get. It's YouTube and it's poker, which are mostly, not the greatest people who are like constantly wanting to comment on all that stuff. And so at first it was depressing, but then I just turned it into a game where the more negative their comment, the more points I got in my own head. So if I got like a really creative negative comment, I'd be like, yes, awesome. And I'd give them a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And I go, thank you so much. And I would just treat it as though, because most of them are playing a game, right? They're these stupid trolls that are getting their jollies off by saying something crappy to someone that they don't have to see to their face. And so I might as well treat them as unseriously as they seem to treat whatever I'm doing.
Well, I mean, newsflash, no one's minds are changed over commenting on the internet. So having arguments through comments never really changes people's minds. What changes people's minds are actual like conversations in real life and being aware of your own confirmation bias and willing to see the other side and have your belief systems challenged.
Otherwise, it's trench warfare.
Yes.
It's just you're hiding behind your little trench, and you pop up your head for a second to lob a thing over, and all your friends applaud for the thing you said.
Yeah.
And then you just wait as they're prepping their thing, and it's just back and forth.
Yeah. And then if you can look at it as like a journalist or media creator or anything like that, as like a game or as like, well, whatever. It's just, I mean, more eyeballs to my stuff. So it's like, I mean, you're reading and you hate this. Like, why are you subject matter? Like, why are you, pushing yourself to something that you hate? Like, you obviously don't hate it that much. So that's why I always tell to like all my friends or anyone, I'm like, be responsible with your eyeballs, people. Like, read, like, consume interesting, valuable, accurate content on the internet. And like reach out when someone does like a really good job instead of just pointing out the errors.
One of our previous guests, Jason Jacobson, used to tell me, because he's in advertising, and I would be like, ugh, have you seen this so-and-so commercial? I hate it. It's awful. He goes, but you're talking about it right now. And he goes, do you think that maybe they're winning that game? And I'd be like, oh my God, they are. Because I'm not talking about any ads that I like, but here I am consciously having a conversation with a human being about an ad that I don't care for.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's influenced me, but maybe it's, maybe someone else hears me say it.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a tastemaker, in this town. If I say
That's
that
true,
Applebee's,
you are.
if Applebee's is a really great new appetizer, like people listen. I love the idea of talking with another human being too. Do you find that I'm going to take a hard right, so it has nothing to do with that previous comment. Do you find that it's difficult to exist in a world where it's people like that 24-hour news cycle and people are trying to get the story out as fast as possible? But we also have gotten to a point of where we're really cultivating these deep dive stories as well. So it seems like we're kind of getting a mixture of those, of the ones that are like fast and loose. Let's get it up there as soon as possible so that we can get the clicks. But then also the stuff that is, someone took a month to write a single piece. Is it interesting being in journalism at a time when that's happening?
Definitely. And I definitely think it's interesting to see the difference. I mean, after the 2016 election, and just because of before that, the way that media has been changing or needing to change, it's a really interesting time because we are all trying new things and changing the way that we communicate to the public, and kind of like letting the walls between like journalists, media organizations, citizen journalists, whatever you want to say, are dissolving, and they should dissolve. And it's a way that we can all, share more information, get the full picture, hold more people accountable who should be hold accountable. And I think what I've gotten really passionate about too is about media literacy. And I feel like a lot more people are becoming more media literate and understanding that they should know where their information comes from. They should know who's writing it. They should know about their own like biases as a human being or all perceptions that we have that make us believe in a certain way. And I feel like over the last like 2 years, especially, so many people more understand that, and so many people want to have conversations about that. So it's an interesting way to be in the media, definitely.
So outside of your journalistic endeavors, what do you like to do? Who's April as a person? Were you born in April?
I was not. So many people. No, I was born in July, and this is the story. My mom says why I was named April. I don't know if it's.
She's a big Ninja Turtles fan.
Yeah, I know. I wish. That's what everyone's like. Oh, April, the journalist, and I started. I started at the forum in April too, so that's another thing.
Don't push away these signs. This is a Muse, April. It's trying to approach you.
You ever just gone like urban exploring in a sewer? You should try it.
Well, would you guys come with me? Then I would.
Oh, there's a lot of salmonella down there.
Yeah, I have breathing problems.
Yeah, my mom named me April because before I'm the youngest of three. I have three older sisters, so there's four of us in total. And we were all born within like 5 years of each other. My oldest sister is only 4.5 years older than me, so we're all really close. But they were around toddlers or 5 when I was born. And they would ask my mom if my dad still lived with us during like the spring months because he was a farmer. So he would get up before they got up and come home after they went to bed. And so my mom named me April so that my dad would remember to come home during the planting season.
Oh,
I know. I think that's BS because I don't really think that's true, but it's a good story.
It is a good story.
What did your dad farm?
We did mostly beans and corn and hay. My cousins have Angus cattle, so so we mostly farmed what they could feed their cattle.
Do you eat beef?
I do eat beef. I eat my family's beef. It's really nice.
Nice. That is okay. That's the first time I've ever heard that sentence uttered, and I love it. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I eat my family's beef. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say that now.
Yeah, I don't know the price of like meat up here like at all because I just get it from back home.
Well, like you can get burgers at McDonald's on the $1 menu. So
okay,
basically it's $1 per burger.
Yeah, but is it all? It's not 100% meat.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's 100% April's family's beef for sure.
Right.
That I can say with utter certainty.
So do you know what makes it a cow an Angus cow?
I actually do not.
Well, you don't know?
I don't know.
You just know it's delicious?
I just know it's delicious.
Play a lot of Angus Young when they're in utero.
Yeah. No,
they
we
watched
actually
the 1998 comedy Angus on repeat.
No, I don't know. I should. But no, we had cattle too when I was growing up, and I would have to feed them. And I didn't know, we would take them to Sioux Falls, which was like a big city, and we were like, oh, this is a fun trip for our cattle, like, yay, little 6-7-year-old April. And we would like take them to like this big fenced-in area and like let them out of the trailer and be like, oh, hi, bye, cattle, like, we'll see you later. And now that I'm adult, I'm like, oh, we were dropping them off at the slaughterhouse. Mm-hmm. And like, cause like cattle are like our pets. And it's just,
it's like if we took a trip to Mexico today, it's the same exact idea.
You ever met Temple Grandin?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In fact, what is she in? She's coming to Fargo?
Yeah.
Pretty quick here,
yeah,
I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the actual date, but I did see that.
I didn't know anything about her until I saw the HBO movie, and then I was like,
"Whoa!" She's super fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Grandin is the name of my father's hometown.
That's where I first lived before I moved to Fargo. Look at all these connections.
I know. Isn't this great? Is this amazing?
Fargo is like
friends.
the biggest small town ever, though.
Our family took
really
cows
is.
to slaughter. Temple Grandin helped design the cow slaughterhouses. Temple Grandin's coming to Fargo. Grandin, North Dakota is where I'm from, and look at all that connections we just made.
6 degrees.
This is what I mean by tangential. Like that's what this podcast does.
Because most conversations are like that in some way, shape, or form. When was the last time you had a conversation that was about one subject for an hour?
Oh my gosh, that would be the most boring conversation ever.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
People would be like, oh
Definitely.
man, like after 5 minutes they'd be checking out because we're so used to that, right? Because of the way our phones are set up and the way, people are like, time to move on.
Yeah.
Let's get to the next thing.
I
Drives
know.
me crazy.
In fact, I don't think I answered your question. Was April do for fun? Well, as you know, I'm a big fan of improv, and my boyfriend's in line benders.
In the line benders.
Love that.
By the way, do you see his art hanging
I
up on our wall?
do. Yeah, we just renamed his design studio just because he's like all creatives and he just wants to rebrand before he puts his stuff out there more. And I'm like, no, just put your stuff out there. So
Has he already released the new name?
yeah, it's called Pop Shelf Designs. Like
Pop Shelf Designs.
Like Top
Check it out.
Shelf Designs.
Ooh.
We're a big fan of puns, so it's a good time.
And pop is such a big word right now. You're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm a little bit of a trend whore. I'll admit that. So full honesty.
I noticed that your like Facebook page is populated with a lot of like, what's the coolest spot right now? So, for example, you were just tagged in a photo at Pixel.
Yep, Pixelated Brewing.
The new brewery in
oh
town.
my gosh, that's gonna be so busy.
I can't wait. I'm
Yeah.
so excited.
Yeah, it's cool. It has a lot of like street art in there, and then it has so many a lot of retro games too, which was cool to see. Like Ninja Turtles was there. I played that one.
The 4-player one?
Yes, that was
I was
really
in
cool.
Philly last year, and I went to my very first barcade and drank the most delicious beer and played all the way through that Turtles arcade game with my buddy. And it was so much fun.
Yeah.
So I'm super stoked that we're getting one in town now.
Yeah.
Up Down Minneapolis is one of my favorite haunts in Minneapolis, which is a barcade.
It's a good
And
name.
It's a great name. And they serve amazing slices of pizza. They've got great beer. And what I really love is as an adult being able to buy tokens with a credit card. Oh,
There's this place in Vegas called the Pinball Museum, I think is what it's called. Unfortunately, it's not a barcade. You can't buy beer there. But
which
you
is
can,
ironic because you can buy a beer at a church in
I know.
Las Vegas.
I know.
and then take it with you outside to the next church if you want, and just open container it the whole time. But they would sell like Pepsi throwbacks and other like older versions of sodas, and you could buy like frozen pizza and stuff. And first time I went there, I was there for like 5 hours, and I thought I could spend all day here. And ever since then, I've wanted to open. But now we've got Fargo Pinball and places like that where you get old style arcade style classics, and the more you can mix it up, that's the kind of place I want to hang out at. I don't necessarily want to hang out at a bar that I can't necessarily. I just have to sit at a table and not hear my friends. If I can at least play an arcade game, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Definitely. No, I'm sad because that place is probably going to get super busy because it does seem like now in the last like 2 to 3 years, it does seem Fargo has attracted more of these places where it's like, yeah, you can do something and like interact with your friends and you don't just have to sit at a loud bar and drink beer or stay at the bars where the college students are going to be at and stuff and be like, post 25 life, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't
When I
feel-
look at college kids nowadays, I think, oh, what was I like when I was your age? Was
Go
I
home,
this
go to
annoying?
bed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're paying for an education right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think Fargo is missing that we still need to get a hold of?
Oh, well, we do need like a swim up bar during the winter time. That would be amazing. I also have an idea. Like, if someone wants to listen to this and gives me like, I don't know, $1 billion, I probably wouldn't need
This
that
is a
much.
$1 billion project? Okay.
We just want $250 a month.
Yeah. Listen, Bill Gates, if you're listening.
Well, it probably wouldn't cost. I don't know. I don't know what real estate costs nowadays, but I want to create. One of my friends in college and I thought it would be cool if we created like a meadow bar where you walk in and there's like a bunch. It's just like all trees and like you can sit under trees and like have a drink, or you can sit in a tree, or you can sit like in a wild like flower like area and just like dead of winter walk in and it's just like green everywhere and it's just like a bunch of trees and you just sit and like you can have a drink, you can have like a picnic and you can hang out, you can climb a tree. So that's what we want to do.
So oddly enough, I was just reading a piece about how in Japan, these indoor atrium spaces are becoming more and more important because they realize people need nature throughout the entire year, but there are times when you can't go outside, especially up in our harsh climate in the upper Midwest. So that idea, think about the improved just like well-being of people
Yeah.
who would get something out of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it would give a chance for people who've like never hugged a tree before to come hug a tree.
Just hug a tree.
But also too, I mean, in this area, like people with seasonal depression, this is a tough area to live in.
Oh yeah,
because of that.
No, I take vitamin D all year round because I feel like it's just like we just don't get enough sun, or even too from being. I mean,
I feel like some of it is also just being inside too much.
Yeah, I can definitely tell too. Just going, not that 3 hours south is like that much warmer, but is like I go back to a more rural area, and I go back to the farm, so I'm in nature more, and I'm like, oh, I just like feel different, like, and I'm definitely not like I'll always be a farm girl, but I don't see myself living there forever or like going back there, but it's just like you can feel the difference definitely when you do get out of the city, even though Fargo is the smallest city ever, but
the smallest big city ever.
Smallest big small town ever. But
I mean, we've got a good number of Applebee's restaurants here, so that's how I really justify it.
I know, but like no traffic. Everyone knows each other here.
It's true. I don't know how people have affairs in Fargo because everybody knows everybody. And everyone can like.
I think that's why they have affairs in Fargo, because they don't know each other. They've met.
We don't have any like shifty motels where the entrance is blocked and you wouldn't be able to see cars. All of the parking lots are on the front of everything. I would find it so taxing and tiring to just like come up with these concepts. You have to drive to Grand Forks every time you want some hanky panky with your Mr. If you're a woman having an affair, do you call him your Mister? Since
if you're a straight woman, yes.
Straight woman.
Because it's your mistress, right? Or is it your misters?
Oh, I see what you're saying now. What would be the term? I don't know. I guess I've never thought of it that way.
Is there a term for that?
Maybe that's part of the double standard, too.
Probably is. Probably is.
Well, that's another thing that we need in Fargo. Open the shifty motel, I guess.
Oh, I'm going to the shifty motel. Where's that? It's right next to the Meadow Bar.
We need a word to define the men who women cheat with.
Yeah.
That's what we need in Fargo.
It's weird, though, because we do have a term for the female side.
I think that must be, I would assume, just the legacy of the last 200 years where you had this like family unit, and for almost until like the 50s, men were almost expected to be in, like, infidelity was almost expected. Like you had a wife and you had a mistress, but women weren't given the same latitude, right? So there was a word for this other female in the patriarch's role. So I'm assuming that's what it is. But now that everyone can just cheat with everyone, whoever they want all the time, maybe there should just be like it's just the other person, the other man, the other woman.
The other woman.
The other.
The other. That could be it.
I like that. Who's your other? We have the same other.
Well, unless you're like polyamorous. I
Do you need another? I've got a great other I can refer to you. It's like a doctor.
So I've been asked twice since I got married, which both of you were at the wedding. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Oh my gosh, it was such a fun time.
Good.
It was okay.
Yeah, that's the second time you've told me it was only okay. But so I've had several people ask me, like, how was the wedding? Oh, it was great. So are you guys going to have like an open relationship? And I was like,
that's the second question that follows.
Right? And so I keep telling them, I was like, well, I mean, we haven't really discussed that.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want that. I'm pretty sure she doesn't want that.
Yeah.
But it is a weird thing.
Yeah.
Although I do like that we're healthy enough as a culture to admit that like monogamy doesn't work for everybody. And there are some couples that thrive in a relationship like that.
Yep.
But it still is awkward to like be asked that in the break room at work, and you kind of turn away and go like, this feels weird.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, it's talked about. Polyamory is talked about, but I don't think it's necessarily generally accepted yet. And two, especially we're in the Midwest too. This is Fargo. Calm down, people. Like, I mean, Fargo is the most progressive city in North Dakota, but like, it's not that progressive yet. I think
I allow my ego to go, and I always think, well, if they're asking me, does that mean that they want to join in? Like, is that the conversation that we're having here? Like, you're testing the waters to see if I'd like to join you and your wife or you and your husband,
Yeah.
you know, like, and then I get even more awkward because I'm like,
Well, see, if you had a shifty motel, you could have these conversations in a more appropriate environment, maybe.
I would call it the Shifty Motel too. Like, why?
I know. That's a great name.
Sometimes I think we try too hard to come up with names that are supposed to, you know, elicit someone's like deep thought process.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just like flip-flops.
Yeah.
They're called that because that's the sound that they make.
Yeah.
Right? The Shifty Motel is the motel you go to when you want to do something shifty.
Yeah.
So, you know, why not? But then on the other side, I do also appreciate things like the scribe,
Yeah.
which makes me think like, oh, well, what's that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Norwegian word, huh?
Yeah.
And so it makes me, so we need a good balance of those
No.
things in town.
Definitely. And we can't get, I mean, no one should get too wrapped up in like making a name. I mean, is anything really original on the internet anymore? You know?
That is an excellent question because there is that theory that we've already created everything that's
I
ever going
know.
to be created.
Oh, that's a big fear for any creative person, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, is this not original? You know? But
I wonder why we're not striving to create new instruments because they say every note that's ever going to be played has already been played. And it's just a matter of how you compile those notes.
yeah,
But like, why aren't we looking for other instruments that can create different notes?
that's so true. Well, I mean, I do feel like not ancient, but like instruments that like native tribes have used are coming back. So maybe there's stuff there or something. It is kind of sad though if anyone ever looks up, and I'm sure you have, about the evolution of music, and it's always like the same three chords. I'm like, no.
You'd be like, no, it's so different.
Yes, I've been taken in.
I was
But-
just talking the other day about how it's commonplace now for record companies to sue other record companies
Yeah.
because a bass line will seem similar to the bass line in this song.
Yeah.
And whether it's conscious or unconscious, it's just the way we roll nowadays.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it was going back to something you said earlier about like Walt Disney. There's some proponents say that Walt Disney ruined copyright law because that company was the first to, the copyright was going to expire
on
for,
Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, and that's when copyright, law came to be. And now since they've copyrighted all these like the newer Disney princesses and all that, and the music that goes along with that. And some people are saying that is ruining like the creative sphere, because we, like, as creatives, we build on each other's work. And so now, because of copyright, so many things are now in the public domain, and so many new, like, besides just creative like songs and illustrations, copyright on ideas, like that whole trend. Because we can't build on those ideas, then innovations, new art, new works of art stuff aren't coming about because of copyright law.
Ooh, interesting.
I don't know where I fall in that, because I definitely feel like as a creative person, intellectual property is important, and like you need to be like compensated and protect that. But then I'm like, yeah, but we also, again, is anything really original on the internet anymore?
I've got a book called The 20 Master Plots. And really you can boil anything down to one of these 20 master plots. I remember in creative writing, we were talking about how like every story is man versus man, man versus nature, man versus himself. And, everything comes down to that, that simple idea.
Yep.
And in the 20 master plots, they kind of expand upon that, and they talk about how, like, in the plot of Cinderella, like, this is the moral, or these are the ethical choices that are having to be made. And, it's a villain working as, a close confidant, and it's just very, very weird stuff. And when you look at it, and then they talk about, like, here are 20 other movies or novels that follow that plot line, and you go like, oh my God.
Yeah.
They're absolutely correct.
Oh my gosh. No, I love like knowing all that stuff like that, or like the hero's journey and like seeing all the correlations. But then I also kind of hate it. It kind of ruins everything.
It sucks some of the fun out of it.
it's like it's good to know and just have in your back pocket, but then you can kind of just like compartmentalize it so you can just like enjoy the world the way it is, you know?
So I'm gonna dive back to something else you said. You say you love improv. Good.
do.
I love improv,
Yeah.
obviously too. Do you ever go to improv outside of the Fargo Moorhead area? Have you ever sought some stuff out?
Well, we went to as I said, my mom's from Chicago, so I have relatives there. So anytime I'm in Chicago, I try to go to an improv show there. So
Nice.
it's so much fun. But it's the second city, and just love it. I mean, I just love. I've always like because I was in like theater and. Well, I did competitive cheerleading too, which is
Whoa.
a type of performance, people too. Like,
Heck yeah.
Why didn't we get to that a little earlier? Competitive cheerleading.
Yeah,
Like, bring it on?
yes, like bring it on. Actually, my team has won the state champion 11 times now.
Whoa.
Yes, my old team. Obviously, I'm not in the team
Do you ever
anymore.
want to go back and coach and be like, all right, kids, in my day?
No, not at all. Actually, the girl who a younger woman now, I guess Lauren, was a friend of my mom's friend, and she's kind of become her like fifth sister because unfortunately my mom's friend couldn't have more children, and so she's always like been around. We supported her. She was just on the team the last 4 years, I guess, and now she's graduating. And she would just talk about some of the things that I used to talk about with cheer and like all the drama that happens with cheer. And I'm like, gosh, I miss it, but not that much. Like, high school girls, I tell you what. So, no, no, I do not want to go back and cheer, to be a cheer coach, but I do miss the performance art of it. So, yeah, definitely.
I imagine it was a lot of fun. I mean, I used to do state one-act play tournaments. And
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And I also like getting to know the kids from other schools.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tucker and I went to rival high schools in Fargo. And I
geez.
don't ever feel that there was a rivalry between us and the theater departments at all.
No, because it wasn't. It's not like McDonald's and Burger King competing for your burger dollars. Like these are all kids learning something. It wasn't like a sport where, yeah, like my football team and your football team are going to go compete tomorrow. And there was a thing that just wasn't how theater worked. We did do that North-South improv show, which was a lot of fun. And we started it off as though it were a street fight, like a West Side Story, like the two
Cool.
groups coming out. But then they just suddenly hug and
Yeah.
become friends because that's what we were.
Well, competitive cheer is not like that. You hate all the
You
other
hate them all.
yeah,
All those
the
other
schools.
batches.
Yes, you hate all those bitches, definitely. And too, it's a little bit like the movie, like Don't Step Off of the Mat. I had like a hairpiece that like once fell off, and it was like, oh, the world was ending. Girls, I was a bass, so that means I would throw girls up in the air, and then I would have to catch them. If they didn't fall correctly, they can really hurt you. And so my flyer did that a couple times and like kicked me in the face and like kicked me my like I got or sprained my ankle because of her, and then I had to take my senior pictures the next day. So I had to wear all this makeup because I had a big bruise all the way down my face.
No.
Yeah, so I don't know. It can, but it's just that adrenaline rush with any performance art like that.
Do you remember like what songs you guys used? Any popular songs?
I don't really remember because, like, with dance or cheer, it's always like a mix of
Right.
like.
Which, by the way,
stuff.
I don't think people give enough credit to those mixes. And
Yeah.
like the way I had to make a mix when I was in high school was I had to have like 3 tape players going and
Yeah.
and like adding effects like that. It was not a fancy, using Adobe and just I'll cut paste here we go
Yeah.
and slide it over. So there was some real work that went into some of those.
I know. I do not envy my cheer coach back then, but now she has her own club actually in Brookings, so she has like professionals do their music. It's like way better than when I was. Everything's way better than when I was a cheerleader. No, I don't remember any of the music. I remember like the dance moves though, so and like some of the like cheers, and then too they do this thing where they always try to keep like one move from like before. So it like harkens back. So it's fun. And actually, fun fact, some of the like skills I learned in cheerleading now help me in like CrossFit and like lifting because it's
Really?
like all about keeping like your shoulders and your back in the correct placement so you don't hurt yourself. So it's cool.
Well, it's good to know that has followed you through in life. Well, we're running out of time here. April, thank you so much for being a guest on JJ Meets World. I hope you had a good time.
I did. I hope you guys had fun.
I think we had a blast.
Okay.
See? What is it going to take to impress you, Tucker?
I don't know, man.
We've given you meatballs. We've given you stories about the farm. I mean, what more could a man want?
I don't know. I've had enough of that. I want something new, JJ.
Okay, well, when we open the Meadow Bar, maybe that's enough for him.
Yeah, or the Shifty Motel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
By the way, those are fully on trademarked, so don't even bother. Don't even bother looking up.
Can single people go cheat at the Shifty Motel? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, you do not have to be married to go to the single.
Can
the
two
Shifty
single
Motel.
people cheat with each other? Is that possible?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the first person to make that happen.
Why are
well-
you like in a relationship with yourself?
I don't know how it's gonna work. I'll have to figure out the calculus somehow. But
Like in case you want to touch yourself in an unfamiliar area.
well, maybe she works at McDonald's and I work at Burger King, and it's sort of a corporate cheating, right? Like maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Like,
we'll figure it out.
Put my name tag on.
Would you like fries with that?
Oh, our fries are better. Oh, slap. And on that, April, thanks again for coming.
Thank you so much.
JJ Meets World.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode of JJ Meets World and would like to help us continue to produce 2 new episodes every week, you can donate to our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/JJ Meets World and donate today. Even as little as $1 a month can go a long way. Visit our website at www.jjmeetsworld.com or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, go to linebenders.com, and you can find direct contact info for JJ. When I would fake sick and be at home, I would usually eat a lot of orange Danish rolls. And one time I made myself sick, so it was sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy.